Hi everyone, this is Becky from My Creative Life. Today I'm going to share a very fun layout here in my Square Dylusions journal. I am going to be using a gel press plate and my hexagon stamps from Dylusions along with some acrylic paint to create a really fun background. Now there you can see I pulled out 3 different color paints. Those are all Dylusions, and I'll go ahead and link all of the items I use and the exact colors I use down in the description box. And I am going to be using a hexagon shaped gel press today. Now the reason I decided to go ahead and use the gel press, I wanted to blend my paint colors together to create a background where I can stamp out those hexagon shaped stamps from Dylusions. And the easiest way to blend my colors together would be on this gel press plate, and I have never used the gel press plates before. This is my very first time using it, so it's not a perfect background, but I absolutely love how it turned out, and I loved using this gel press plate. Now I definitely will be using these plates in the future. I have different shapes and sizes, and you can see I pulled out my Dylusions sprayer right there, which I am going to use to blend my colors together on here. Now I'm using this huge acrylic block from Dylusions, and that's what I'm going to use to sort of stamp out those hexagon images on my background. Later on I do change the block that I'm using to a smaller one, which give me a little bit more control. And here you can see I'm just adding paint directly onto the plate with my spatula and blending them together. I was not sure how much I needed to add or how little, so it's just a lot of experimenting right now, and I'm so in love with how this background turned out. So here I'm going to continue adding from those 3 colors, blending them together and creating this fun background. Now once I got to the center of my 2-page layout here where the spine would be in my book, I needed to remove the gel press plate from the stamp block and use it with my hands just to get a really good impression there on my book. If I used it with the stamp block, it would not press really good onto the book. So I'm having so much fun with this gel plate that I decided to stamp a little bit more. And I'm just adding a background right now to one of my dialogues, my Dylusions dialogue, and start a background for a future layout. And I'm using the same exact colors, but that's totally fine. I had it here on my desk already, so I figure why not. And whatever is left over on my brayer and my gel plate, I'm going to add it to a clean page here in my square journal, and that will also begin a background for another layout. So next up, I am going to go ahead and stamp out some images using the hexagon shaped stamps from Dylusions, and I am using some archival black ink right here. Now the ones that's the darkest blues from what I stamped out with the gel plate, I am adding this girl on 3 of those. And next up, I will create a hexagon shaped image using 3 different designs, also from the same stamp set, and these are all diamond shaped. So once you put them all together, there's 3 diamond shaped stamps. They create a hexagon shape. Now I'm not going to stamp all of the hexagons I have on my background. I'm just going to go ahead and stamp out just a few of them until I find a really nice balance of images on the background. Now I'm working towards the back of my journal, so I don't have a lot of padding behind that right page. So you can see there I slid my hand behind my page and just pressed it up into the stamp to get a really good image there. And I'm trying to do the same here, but it just did not work out really well. So I'm going to remove those diamonds individually and go ahead and transfer over the ink that's still on the stamps onto my page now, and here I'll get a better image. Now next up, I am gonna go ahead and stencil in a border around the entire 2 pages here, and I'm using some black paint. That is the Marble Black Dylusions paint, and I am using the design that's on the edge of my stencil. So you can see that I'm lining it up in a way that I have those little squares stenciled in, and I pulled it over a tiny bit so that way I can also add in a very thin border on the outer edge of my layout. And I do this all the way around my layout here, and I love how this looks. Now with the leftover paint, I went ahead in my dialogue where I stamped out some of these hexagons earlier. I went ahead and outlined each one of them using my finger dauber and what was left over of that black paint. So here I decided to go ahead and also outline each one of these hexagons, but I am using here my big brush marker from Faber-Castell. I outline each one of those, and the ones that have the girl inside of it, I am going to outline that in white as well. I also went in with my white gel pen and highlighted some of the designs from some of those diamond stamps that I used earlier. I do not outline all of them. I'm just adding a little pop of white here and there on my background. So now my background is all done. I'm going to go ahead and choose my focal point for my layout, and I chose the body that I used earlier this month on another layout, which is totally fine. I really love how this look against the colors that I used on my background. Because of that orange that's on her dress, I think it added a nice contrast color here to this layout. So I wanted to use this body, and I also chose the head. Now the hat that she's wearing on her head, I will remove that and add a different hat. And I'm gonna place her directly in the center of my layout. So you can see I used my bone folder to give my image there a nice crease. I am not gonna cut it down the center. I'm just gonna lay it directly on both pages there. And I'm adhering it using some matte gel medium. I will also go ahead and add a layer of that matte gel medium on top the entire image to seal it in. So now to make sure my focal point will pop on the page against that really busy background, I am going to use my Faber-Castell big brush marker and go ahead and outline my girl. Once I'm done outlining my girl, I will go in with my white gel pen and add a few bits of dots and lines on these black outlines here just to highlight and add a little bit more detail to the layout. So next up, I decided to go in once again with my gel pen and highlight just a few more of those diamond shaped stamps that I used earlier on the background. And then I'll work on my word phrase that I'm adding in here. Now I am going to use a snarky word phrase, and it is from the back chat sticker sheets. And I used the one with the black background with the white fonts, and it says, "So much to do, so little people to do it for me." And I think it goes perfect with the expression on her face. So next I am going to work a little bit more on my focal point here. I'm going to use my white gel pen to highlight certain areas on my girl, on her hat, on her dress. I am also going to use a black marker and outline certain areas on her dress and also her eyebrows, her lips. She's wearing black lipstick, so I went ahead and highlighted that as well. And even though I love how her orange dress looks against this background, the contrast that it adds to this layout, I also wanted to tie her in by using some of the colors I used on the background on her dress as well. So I will grab some Posca paint pens in just a few moments and go ahead and add a tiny bit of details on her using those paint pens. Now the colors I'm using on her dress is not the exact colors that would match with the Dylusions paints that I use, but it's the closest that I found from all of the Posca paint pens that I have. So I'm using here a green and also a blue. The blue is a little lighter, but I'll go ahead and add the exact colors I used for the green and the blue down in the description box. And it covered up these dots on her dress completely. It worked perfectly in covering up that orange color on her dress. So you can see I am using the blue also on her arms, on her sleeve, I should say, on the pockets of her dress, on the belt. It worked perfectly to cover up all of those colors there. Now I also added some to her neck. And I'm also going to work on her hat as well. And by adding all of these little details, I think she's definitely tied into the background now. And she's also popping off the page by using all of the black outlines around her. And I really love how this layout turned out. So So I had a lot of fun using this gel press plate today. I cannot wait to use it again on more layouts. I hope you guys enjoyed the process. And if you did, be sure to give me a thumbs up before you leave. I will give you guys a close-up look right now at the completed layout. And I'll also have some still shots coming up. So I want to thank you all for watching today. And until my next video, bye.